So I've been using the Huawei Mate 20 the day it launched, and now it's February. So 4 months passed, and I'm just going to talk about my overall experience using this phone. The first thing I want to talk about is battery life. Since that's the most important thing I'm looking for in a phone, this phone has 4000 mAh battery, so that can easily last me throughout the whole day. I consider myself as a light to average smartphone user. I'm not a heavy user because I don't game on this phone. What I really do is just browse my social media, browse the interwebs, and just watch YouTube videos. So even if I do decide to play games, I know for a fact that it's still gonna last me throughout the end of the day, or pretty close to the end of my day. Overnight, I would leave the Mate 20 on my bedside table and I would lose about 4 to 6%. It really depends on how much notifications I get overnight. But with that average, it's still less than other phones I've used in the past. Throughout the times I've used this phone, it reminds me that, hey, this app is really intensive, you should turn it off. And for me, I find that kind of annoying and useless because I'm a light user, so I don't really care about it because I know for a fact this phone can still last me throughout the end of the day, so I don't really need to be reminded all the time. If I were a heavy user, then yes, I would find this way useful, and I can just turn off the apps and I would have a longer lasting phone throughout my day. It's really nice that when you're in the camera app and you're not using the camera, it will turn off and exit the camera, therefore saving you more battery life. The next thing I want to talk about is cameras, and I've compared this camera to other phone cameras out there, and I've always come back to this camera because of two things. One is the wide angle lens, and two is the aperture mode. The quality is great and consistent, and I just find myself not missing on a lot of options out there. When I'm switching to the Google Pixel, I just feel like I'm missing out on a lot of options, whereas when I'm using the Huawei Mate 20, I'm not missing out on anything. I have all these options. I don't miss out on my creative mindset of how I want to shoot things. Now, I'm not a big fan of the front-facing camera. I wish it has more contrast, and the highlights are a bit too much for my taste. But I'm not a big selfie taker, so the front-facing camera doesn't affect me too much. The other thing I'm not feeling is the video. It's nice that 4K 30 is here, but I really wish it has 4K 60. Shooting in the daytime works really well, and I have no issues with it. But when it comes to dark time, low light, or dark areas, that's when you notice the performance decrease. When you're shooting in darker areas, you will notice the footage being a bit more choppy and the colors are starting to become less vibrant. The next thing I want to talk about is usability. The Mate 20 still has a headphone jack and I use it on a weekly basis, so I'm glad that it's still there. The power button is placed well and I find it really accessible on both hands and it's easy to reach, unlike the Pixel 3 XL. The Mate 20 is a big phone and I have small hands. Typically, I don't like using big phones, but with the Mate 20's gesture system, it makes it really easy to use with one hand. With the fingerprint gesture, I can swipe down and I can get to my notifications without using a second hand, and I can go back without going to the bottom. I can swipe anywhere from the left side of the screen or the right side of the screen, whether I'm on the top or bottom, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where my thumb is, as long as I can swipe back and go back to my previous page. That gesture makes my life easier with using a phone with one hand. The face detection is really nice and responsive, and the only time I don't like using it is during nighttime. For example, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I just want to know what time it is, so I pick up the phone, turn it on, and the screen just goes full brightness, and that just kills my eyes. The free clear case is really nice and thin. After the second month, that's when it starts to fade and become frosty, so you can't really show off the nice twilight color anymore. Moving on to software, I do find that the EM UI takes me a little bit longer to use than the stock Android or iOS. Now, after using all three UIs, I feel like the EM UI is right in the middle, so it has a feel of the iOS and stock Android put together. The gestures is really similar to an Apple phone where you can swipe back on most pages and you can go home by swiping up, and then you can get to your multitask screen the same exact way. So it has that feel, and of course you have the Android feel where you can actually hide your apps into your app drawer and have a clean home page and only have apps you want to use on that home page. From my personal perspective, if you're coming from an Android phone, I feel like it's kind of too simple now and it feels a little bit restrictive, or you just don't have the same personalization as your past Android phone. And coming from an Apple device, it feels like you have more option and more freedom, so you would take some more time learning about how to use option A or option B. One software feature I do use a lot is face detection while opening apps. For example, photos. To get to it, I would need to use my fingerprint or my face to open that app. So overall, it's a good looking phone, it's a good camera phone, and this thing can last me throughout the whole day. In the beginning, the Huawei ID stuff was pretty annoying to me because I'm not interested into signing up for Huawei stuff. I already signed into this phone with Google, so it works well with it. I just turned off the notifications, so after that, it never bothered me again. So I like using this phone a lot, and let me know what else you want me to cover in the comment section down below. Also, links will be down there as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.